Hello, and welcome to Creepycore and Folklore, the show about creatures, encounters, old tales, and myths. I'm your host, Iona Wayland, a dark fantasy author, mental health professional, and overall curious person. I want to join other spooky souls and hear about these unusual stories. Hello, spooky soul. This Creepycore and Folklore episode is going to be another fun one. We're visiting with a CCFL guest. Joining us today is a writer, Reiki healer, high priest, witch, and loving cat dad, Axel Aita. Welcome, Axel. I'm so excited you're here. Thanks for speaking with me and the fellow spooky soul who's listening.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here. So I know my name is kind of weird. It's Aida,
Oh
and it's
no, I said your
all
name
good.
wrong.
Most people do. And it's based off of the Etruscan god of the underworld. Um,
Oh,
my very emo scene teenager days picked it out when I was little, and it never went away.
it's stuck.
So it stuck. But yeah, Axel Aida is my pen name.
Very
And
cool.
hi, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for telling me about that. And also, thank you for coming here today.
That's totally fine. I also butcher people's names, so I apologize for anybody in advance because I've definitely butchered some names on my channel.
That's good to know that it's Axel Ada. I gave it a Latinese flavor.
Close, close, close.
Why don't you tell us a bit about your craft and some of the beautiful creations you've made?
So I am a gray witch, which means I practice both light and dark magic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's important to understand that there are two sides to all of us, and
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, I much would prefer to just bless everybody because blessing people with kindness
Mm-hmm.
is going to get you a lot further in life. But
Mm-hmm.
occasionally, a hex is necessary. Uh, Sometimes people be rude.
Uh-huh.
But I like to make spell jars. I make wands and other kind of magic tools like that, and jewelry. Wands are my favorite thing to make. They're the most intimate process that I do. But I do make quite a large variety of various trinkets now.
That's really cool how you have that range now. And I know I saw on your website, which I'll definitely talk about later and make sure I include it in the links below if anyone's curious about it. But there's like not a sword, but like a dagger type of thing, but I don't know how to say it.
So that is an athame. Some people
Athame.
also pronounce it like athame.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pronunciation's not necessarily my forte either, so if I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm terribly sorry, guys. But so a wand and an athame work
Mm-hmm.
very similarly, in which you use them to call the cardinal directions
Mm-hmm.
and cast your circle.
Mm-hmm.
Most people do use an athame for that purpose, but a wand is equivalent to it in a sense. But a lot of traditions use the athame for fire and the wand for air.
Mm.
So it just kind of depends on what you're more attuned with. I use a staff,
Mm-hmm.
which is closer to a wand than an athame. I do use both. It depends on what kind of ritual I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing a sabbat or a big ritual, I'll use an athame. But if I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing something more small or personal to me, I'll use my staff because it is just more personal to me.
I think that's really beautiful. I like how you're able to have those connections to each magical tool and like that they mean different things for different people, but specifically you, because the one casting is going to be the one that needs to connect with it the most, I would think.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I know that you were just talking about different magical tools. And I know that privately with me, you've mentioned how choosing what to make it out of is really important to you, like different herbs, trees, things like that. Do you want to go into detail about what goes into that kind of construction?
Yes. So just kind of like one of our favorite wizardry fairy tales that we all know about nowadays. The type of wood It can have a great effect on how your spells are cast and
Mm-hmm.
how it interacts with you. There's oak, which is more attuned to fire and protection and strength. And then there's willow, which is more attuned to water and healing. So
Mm-hmm.
it really is a matter of what the practice is for and what kind of person you are. And if you are not, a lot of us like to think that we are a lot more stubborn and strong-willed than we are, but if you're not a strong-willed person,
Mm-hmm.
an oak wand might not be best for you because you are more flexible than you are giving yourself credit for.
Mm-hmm.
So something like you or let's see, Purple Heart,
Mm-hmm.
um, that also has an effect. And then there's also masculine and feminine energy in the
Mm-hmm.
wands, in the wood. And then a lot of people will do crystal points.
Mm-hmm.
I I put crystals in the handle. I'll crush them up
Oh.
with the herbs and
Mm-hmm.
imbue them in the handle.
Mm-hmm.
I do that mostly for an aesthetic choice
Mm-hmm.
because I like the way it looks. I like having the whole wand made out of wood.
Mm-hmm.
There are some crystal point wands that look fantastic, and it
Mm-hmm.
is all about what resonates to you personally and your craft.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many different traditions that go into witchcraft or magic, and there's other traditions beyond that that do use those tools
Mm-hmm.
or other various tools, like an ankh, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
in Egyptian mythos. It's very similar. Um, and then there's also metal and crystal wands. I have a selenite athame right here.
Wow, that's really
Um,
beautiful. For those like since
yeah,
you they I really need to get this on video at some point in the future. But for the spooky soul who's listening, there's this athame that is like kind of clear but slightly opaque, kind of frosted looking, and it has like a beautiful is it a pentacle at the top?
yeah, it's a pentacle. If it's in a circle, it's a pentacle. If it's not, it's a pentagram.
Oh, good to know. Okay. Hey, look at us learning things.
Yes. So I use my selenite athame
Mhm.
for when I do energy cleansings and
Mhm.
healings
Mhm.
because selenite is very in tune with healing and it's in tune with the moon. And because I am a very fire-based person, I need kind of more of an attachment to the moon than I do the sun because I'm
Mhm.
already naturally attuned to fire and the sun and all that.
That's very cool. I know whenever I was speaking with you briefly, and I'm probably going to make an episode about the help I needed from Axel. But you were talking about how there's the different elements, and I think it's water, fire, earth, air, and then spirit, I think is a fifth one. And you're trying to see like which one you're the most attuned to. And it was neat to hear about how Axel was describing how he was more of like a fiery person, whereas I would thought I was more like an earth type person. And it's neat to see which element people align themselves with.
Yeah, I love it. And I do like that more people are getting into astrology and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because even beyond that, there's just you can be a triple fire sign like myself and still be more attuned to air. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like a hard and fast system, but it is about like what kind of energy you are placing, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're easily moved or you're strong and steady or you're fluid. You
Mm-hmm.
know, all of the elements have their place in in each of us, but one is definitely usually more dominant than the other. If someone is a little more evenly spread,
Mm-hmm.
then we kind of consider themselves more spiritually attuned because
Mm-hmm.
the element of spirit is that fifth element, which kind of combines all of them together.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. It's neat hearing about that too, because I didn't realize that astrology had like a portion of it, but I realized that I picked my own astrological sign element by accident. It just naturally was like that. So what's your astrological sign? You said triple fire.
Yeah, I'm a Leo, Sagittarius, Leo. I have a lot of fire. I'm dramatic, guys. Um, Lots of fire. And then I'm born in the year of the fire rat. Like
Wow.
all of the fire that could be.
I like how it reminds me of that meme where there's like a godlike figure that's like making so and so. And so like for yours it would be like making Axel and it's like a little bit of fire and then he drops it and he's like,
Oh,
"Oh." you're just like constantly inflamed. I think that's funny. My astrological signs are kind of a mess. I'm one of like the least like signs, like the wait, I forget. The first one is the like so I'm Capricorn, which is like, okay, there's already some things there. And then Pisces, which I'm just good lord. And then I think Aries, yeah, Aries is the third one. So I don't
Okay.
know what's happening. I don't even know what Pisces is, or I think Aries is fire. I'm almost positive.
Aries is fire, Pisces is water. Um,
And
yeah,
Capricorn is
the
earth, I
signs can
think.
definitely be interesting because like Aquarius is air, but it has aqua in the name. So
I know it's so
I
confusing
think that
because,
makes
like,
sense.
if you look at a Capricorn, it's like a mermaid goat, but its sign is like Earth. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how this goes together,
I
but
don't know either. They're kind of interesting.
to have those things there. But I think that's cool that like different aspects of like the date you were born or different life experiences and different ways like you explore yourself that can show up in knowing yourself more and then being able to attach yourself to a magical tool much better. And so like by you knowing yourself, and you were saying that like with the fire, and then with I would think I also like that you didn't give like stubbornness doesn't have, it has a bad rep, but actually like stubbornness can be a resiliency factor, but
It
also
can
if
be a
someone's
really
more,
good thing.
yeah,
You
it
know,
really
like
can.
you don't want to be pushed around. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you need that stubborn, strong will to stand your ground
Mm-hmm.
and know what, you need for you or anything else. Stubbornness, just like any other trait, can be positive or negative
Mm-hmm.
depending on the context.
Exactly. Hello, and thank you for listening. I am so excited to say that I now have a Patreon that you can go to. I'll make sure I include the information in the show notes. But I have multiple tiers you can choose from: $1, $3, and $5 tiers. The $1 Spooky Soul tier gives you access to an online Discord community that is filled with fellow spooky souls. If you want to talk about creepy, cozy things, you might be interested in that. The $2 Cryptid Creature tier lets you have that online community, as well as giving you early access to episodes, bonus content, and secret bonus content. And the $5 Kachoo Cuddler tier, named after my fluffy, squish-faced kitty, lets you have that online community, early access to episodes, and the bonus material. But it also lets you suggest future episodes, and I'll shout out your name during each episode. So I want to thank my Kachoo Cuddler, River Hemmons, for being a patron on Patreon. Thank you so much for your listenership and support, and I can't wait to talk to you more soon. I think I'm like really curious to see what, like, you were describing your staff, and were you also describing a wand just now that you usually use?
So yeah, I use an athame if I'm doing a sabbat,
Okay.
because I have a few different kinds.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on which kind of sabbat I'm doing. I
Mm-hmm.
use my selenite athame for energy
Healing.
cleansings,
Yes, yes.
um, but I will use my staff for more personal means. That's kind of my catch-all. So like I have very specific ones where I use, but if I don't have a specific tool for it, I'll use my staff. Because it's attuned to air and water,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of antithetical to my being.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I got the wood for the staff, it was meant to be. So I needed to make a tool for myself to kind
If
of balance out my fiery nature.
if it's not too prying, would you want to share about how you made your staff?
It's not terribly it's not terribly personal. It's just I ordered like a turning blank to practice,
Mm-hmm.
and they sent me the wrong size, and they were
Mm-hmm.
basically like, well, we're not going to charge you for it because you didn't order it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was supposed to get something that was like 13 inches and like 1 by 1, a little square turning
Mm-hmm.
blank. And they ended up sending me like a 24-inch block. And I was like, well, I got to do something with it. And
Yeah.
so I just kind of resonated with it for about
Hmm.
a month before I decided that I needed to make a vulpine,
Hmm.
however you say, the fox-like staff, because
Mm.
I love foxes. I think in a world of wolves and sheep, you should be a fox.
Hmm.
And so I decided that was the kind of staff that I needed. It was kind of just like showering me in like calmness
Hmm.
when I was in a time of very high anxiety.
Hmm.
So I decided I wasn't going to try and make that for anybody else. And then that was going to be for me. It was going to be a little treat for myself. And now I carry it around all the time like I'm Harry Dresden. So
I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing. Well, I was wondering if you had any like takeaways or magical things that you'd like the listener to know about, something that they can do to explore themselves and maybe a magical tool that would best suit them.
in the wise words of a TikTok, witchcraft is kind of like spicy psychology. And
I can
I love
totally
that
resonate with
thought.
that.
Yeah, I love that thought because as
Yeah.
weird as it sounds, I'll still get people who ask me, like, how can you fly on a broom? And I'm confused because where have I ever said I can fly on a broom? But
Uh-huh.
people have these grandiose ideas of what magic is because of Hollywood and
Mm,
life, and they want something extravagant to instantly fix their problems.
mm-hmm.
You will get out what you put into witchcraft,
Mm-hmm.
to your magic, to anything you do really in life. So something to take away is that if it works for you, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It might not work for somebody else. Something that works for me might not work for you, and that's just fine. It doesn't mean that your craft is wrong
Mm-hmm.
or lesser than. It
Mm-hmm.
is personalized to you. And that is why I like witchcraft so much because it takes personal accountability
Mm-hmm.
into it, into where you are asking help to do the work yourself
Mm-hmm.
instead of asking a spirit or a deity to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about getting the influence to be able to do it yourself. And on the topic of spicy psychology, it is difficult to look out for who is genuine and who is scamming you because both are spicy psychologies. One is trying to be beneficial and genuine to you, the other is
Mm-hmm.
trying to pry on your anxieties and your fears.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be difficult to discern the two. So really resonate on whoever is telling you what and
Mm-hmm.
see what works with you and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And don't feel bad if something doesn't work for you. Keep trying.
I really love that. Before you go, I have a fun witchy game that we can play since we're at the end or close to the end. Are you prepared?
I am.
Okay, first one. Would you rather commission a wand for a trickster fae creature or an immortal being?
Ooh, that is tough. So I'm gonna go with the Fae, assuming that the
Ooh.
immortal being is probably still human to some degree.
Hmm.
I would much rather be owed a favor by a Fae.
Oh, I didn't even think about the favor thing.
I would also just love to be part of the chaos that kind of ensues. Whatever they do with it, that's their business. As long as they don't harm me or mine,
That's the grayest gray witch thing I've ever
I
heard in
kind of
my
like the
life.
chaos. And I just love the whole Fae lore. So like I would just kind of love to be indebted by a Fae and
Hmm.
then have like this trick up my sleeve
Hmm.
if I ever so needed.
Hmm.
I don't know. There's just such a large possibility that they could, gift in turn,
Hmm.
whether, depending on what kind of immortal being the other person is,
Hmm.
what could they offer you?
Hmm.
And the answer is probably not as much chaos as the fairy. So I'm gonna go with the fae. I'm gonna go with the fae.
I like that. I like your reasoning. At first I was like, "What?" But now that makes a lot of sense. I like your reasoning for sure.
I've been too much of the Dresden Files.
I love that. I really need to get into that. Um, so for the spooky soul listening, Axel has 9 cats. And so one of the questions I have, and this can be for any past cats as well, but if you could choose just one of your cats to transform into a human for a day, which one would you pick?
Um, I'm gonna have to play favorites a little bit and say my
Hmm.
first kitty, Freya.
Oh.
Um, Not for the fact that she is my witchy familiar, but because she has the most anxiety of all the cats. And so I feel like if she could gain human sentience for even
Hmm.
just a day, we could maybe talk through some of that out in a way where she would understand that if she didn't like run from point A to point B and act like something is wrong, the other cats wouldn't react. But because every time she goes anywhere, she needs to bolt like a bat out of hell, they're all like,
Uh-huh.
what's going on?
Uh-huh.
And then it's a cause and effect thing
Yes.
where
She's like, I knew that there was something wrong because they all reacted. And you're like, Freya, no, they're
no,
flipping out because of you.
yeah, exactly. And so I feel like if she retained the memory back when she turned into a
Yep.
cat again,
Uh-huh.
that maybe she would just understand that a little better.
Hmm.
And then I would also ask her how she got stuck in the door because my black cat can teleport. And I think that also maybe the other cats are jealous because there was a time where I had the storm door locked and I had the
Uh-huh.
front door locked
Uh-huh.
and I heard meowing when I woke up. And so
Hmm.
I unlocked the door and I
Hmm.
opened the first door and she plops out.
What?
And I was
Freya?
like, did you get stuck mid teleport? Like what
I
happened here?
think I think so. I bet you she was teleporting and there was like a ward in your door or something, and so she got like a little stuck.
There are wards on my door. I have chalk all around my door.
How much you want to bet that's why?
It might be. I did adjust it after that just in case it was because I was like, I don't know what happened, but I don't want to be the cause of it. But I
Also,
would choose Freya.
choose Freya. She sounds like a great choice for that. And I think that's really endearing that you're like, let's work through some of this anxiety and solve a lifelong mystery.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, so the last one is, would you rather attend a magical school or self-teach using a grimoire?
So as a kid, I definitely would have picked go to a magical school,
Mhm.
but as an adult, I'm gonna say fuck that because mundane bullies are awful. I do not want bullies to have magical
I
abilities.
know. They're like, listen.
Absolutely not. They would have been cruel. They would have
Uh-huh.
done the wackest, cruelest things imaginable.
Uh-huh.
And
All
I
the
also love the
hexes.
aesthetic,
Oh, yes, the
you
aesthetic.
know, a self-brought up witch with a family grimoire or an ancient grimoire that
Yes.
they found. So I love the
Oh,
aesthetic. Um, and whatever trauma that causes or whatever led up to that, at least you get that aesthetic.
yeah.
Yeah, without the bullies. And then
Without the
maybe if
school trauma.
yeah, if you're the only one with the grimoire, if you're self-taught with the grimoire, you're going to a normal school, you can fuck with the bullies.
Mm-hmm.
You could just slyly, tie their shoes together or whatever have you.
The minor
The
inconveniences.
minor
They really
inconveniences.
get you the death by paper cuts route.
Absolutely. Death by a thousand paper cuts.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Well, thank you for your time, Axel. I'm going
Of
to include
course.
Axel's information. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me do it again. Thank you for your time, Axel. No, you can say something.
Of course. Oh, we're
I'm
having
so
a
sorry.
great time over here, guys. We're just
Yeah.
laughing up the storm.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I love your podcast. I just listened to the Earth Day one this morning, actually.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Thank you for
Yeah,
listening to it.
gnomes, salamanders, undines, and sylphs are some of my favorite like spirits from any kind of mythology or
Yeah.
folklore. I love them.
I don't
They
know
engage.
about the two of the like the sylphs and what was the second one you said?
So you have gnomes for earth,
Uh-huh.
undines for water, sylphs for
Undines.
air, and salamanders for fire.
Oh my gosh, I do know what undines are because in next week's episode, well, whenever this comes out, it'll already be out. But my mermaid packed full of information shit.
Yes.
I think it's going to be in part 2. I had to split that into 3 freaking parts. It's
There's so
crazy.
much mermaid folklore though. There's so much in there.
There is. But yeah, I was like, I don't know what undines are. That clearly shows you how long the freaking information stays in my head. It's gone. No, you're right. Oh, I love that. Well, I'm going to include Axel's information in the show notes below. But why don't you let us know more about where people can find you and some of the information about some of the things they can connect with you with?
You can find me pretty much everywhere at Axel Aita. The only place I don't have that alone as my tag is Twitter, and Twitter's kind of the bane of my existence, so need not bother. Um, but Instagram, Facebook, Facebook, it's a page, not the profile, because Zuckerberg deleted it and then wouldn't give it back to me because I don't have an ID that says Axel.
No.
Social
Oh.
media is not always my friend, guys, but you can
Mhm.
find me at my website, axeliata.com. Instagram, I am now on TikTok, and then I do YouTube videos for my
Mhm.
writing. Some of the things I do a lot of various services, and I try to keep them all kind of priced adequately,
Mhm.
especially for things like, so I'll do weddings and funerals, I'll officiate those. If you're
Mhm.
looking for a more spiritual take on those, I love doing hand fastings. It is one of my favorite things to do in the
Mhm.
world. And as morbid as it is, I haven't done one yet, but
Mhm.
I would love to do a funeral. I know that
Mhm.
sounds weird, but I like
No, it's a big
comforting people
transition.
and
Yeah.
making people feel better. And so if
Mhm.
I could do that in a way that is more in tune to them or the person, that would make, you know, I like doing what I can. And um yeah. I also do energy cleansings, energy healings and home cleansings, sorry.
Mhm.
And then I make a variety of things. I love commissions.
Mhm.
I am currently working on a deity series of wands.
Cool.
It just takes a little bit because I have to get special wood from places, but
Mhm. That's really cool. You offer so many services. You should definitely
I
check out
do.
his, like, you really do. You're like, you've got range going for you, but they're all related. But if you want to check out his website, it's spelled AXELAITA, and that's axelaita.com.
I should pop right up on Google.
Yeah, perfect. Googleable. There was one time my
Yes.
dad said Googleable, which
Googleable.
you're definitely Googleable.
Well, I was up until the Am I the Asshole subreddit came into being. Now I feel like some of
Oh
my traffic is
shoot.
from that.
It's spelled the same. I didn't even think about
Yeah, I did a YouTube video where it says Axel Aita, and I read like bookish posts about if you're the asshole related to bookish posts. That was a lot of
That's
fun. I think I'm gonna do another one of
hilarious.
those.
Please definitely do that. That is might as well ride that out.
Right? Honestly. And I love them. They're so funny. Some
They
of
are
these
really
people are
fun.
wild.
I know. They're like, am I? And it's like, oh, buddy.
You're like, how do you not know? You wrote this, didn't you?
You wrote
Yikes.
it, read it over, and still sent it in.
And still pressed send. Yeah. Still posted.
I love it. But if you ever want any magical tools or services, make sure to hit up Axel. And then you can also follow his writing journey as well on his website and on his socials. And thank you again for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I love your podcast, and it was an honor to be on. Thank you so much.
You're so kind. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks to all you spooky souls out there for listening to Creepy Core and Folklore. Follow on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok if you're looking for more uncanny content. If you have your own tales to tell, you can email creepycoreandfolklore@gmail.com. If you liked this, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts, or tell a friend who might enjoy these stories to spread the word. If you're interested in dark fantasy, check out my Hollowverse series. Ashes is available now in paperback and ebook on Amazon and audiobook on Audible, and the sequel is underway. I'm Iona Wayland, and I'll see you next time.